What's up, everybody? Thanks again for joining me for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you're listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod, on YouTube at March 4th Pod. My website is march4th.podbean.com. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. Y'all made it here, so you found us somehow, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you checking out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. I hope that everybody is doing well out there. I hope your summer's going well. I hope that you have the opportunity to get out to some awesome shows, whether they're local, whether they're national. Check out these tours. Go support your favorite artists. Buy their merch. Get the albums. Do it all, man. It's so cool to see music alive and well after, a crazy couple of years with the pandemic. I myself got a chance to go home last weekend as of recording this episode. I got a chance to go home in early July after the 4th of July and see some friends and family. And even though it was kind of a weird visit because my grandma ended up in the hospital, it was still cool to see, people that I hadn't seen in a minute. And the bumper music that you hear on this episode, I know I've said it before, but I'm always going to give these guys their shine because I love them. But my buddies in Tropic Bombs, they are the bumper music that you hear at the beginning of every episode. And the music that's at the beginning and the end of the interview is Tropic Bombs. It's a song called Block the Sun. But those guys did a show for the first time, I think, in 4 years, and they played it at a really cool venue called Frankie's Inner City on the east side of Toledo, Ohio, my hometown, and it's got a lot of cool music history. There's a lot of awesome bands that have played there over the years, and it shut down for a little while. I think it even closed pre-pandemic, and shout out to Brock Curry, who's been a big music guy in the Northwest Ohio area for a long time. I believe he's the one who bought it and reopened it, and it was really cool, man. They sold it out. It was a packed house. It was very similar to how I remembered it in terms of the way it looked on the inside, but it sounded great. And Tropic Bombs, Circadian, the Ice Cream Militia, forgive me for the guys who are listening to this. I can't remember the name of the very first band that played. I think I caught the tail end of their set by the time I got there, but it was a great show, man, and it was so awesome to see my buddy Ryan. He and his wife had a tough week with the loss of a really close friend, and during their song "Light the Way," it was a really emotional performance with everybody with their phones in the air singing the chorus back. I mean, it was Ryan got in the crowd. I mean, it was awesome. It was really cool to be a part of that, and I got a chance to see the show with my buddy Andy. Shout out Andy, one of the first people, actually no, not one of the first guy who really helped inspire me to keep playing guitar. I was so dejected when I got my guitar back when I was 19 years old. I was terrible. You think you're going to get your first guitar and just bust out Eruption from Van Halen. And I was terrible, and I almost thought about taking it back. And he was like, dude, just stick with it, keep it going. And we've been, good buddies since we were 14 years old. We met when we were freshmen in high school, and we're 35 now. So we've known each other longer than the age we were when we met, which is tripped out. But he's got one of the best ears that I know in terms of just his ear for music. He plays the drums, he sings, plays guitar. So anyway, he met me at the show last weekend, and it was a great thing to be able to catch up with him as well. And it was kind of funny. We're both conscious of us getting older and not being spring chickens anymore because we were standing on the floor for the show. Frankie's is an intimate venue. And at the end of the show, when the floor started to clear, we were both like stretching out our legs and our knees and stuff for a little bit. And actually my calves hurt for another day after that. But man, it was worth it. And again, I say all that to say, like, go support these bands. Circadian, and the Ice Cream Militia both had, merch, and I picked up a couple of shirts. I have Tropic Bombs gear, and it was a great chance to meet one of the guys from Circadian and get a chance to shake the hands of one of the dudes from the Ice Cream Militia. So check those bands out. You can find them on Spotify. and I'm pretty sure all the major streaming services, and definitely check out Tropic Bombs. But yeah, man, I just wanted to say that in the intro. It was it's been a weird couple of years for all of us. You guys who have listened to this show know that it's been a weird couple of years for me too. But this show has been awesome, and it's been awesome to see the love and the support. So when I say thank you to all of you who take the time to listen to it, especially if you're a first-time listener, like I said, welcome aboard the pirate ship. Everybody who takes the time to tell their friends about the show, who takes the time to like and subscribe and, share on social media, like all those things go a long way in helping these conversations get out to more people. But yeah, man, I wanted to share that experience of how awesome it was to just stay connected to the music, man. Ryan, the lead singer of Tropic Bombs, we've known each other since 2011. We met through me covering his band when I used to work for Toledo Free Press, and that friendship has continued on. So I thought it was a cool story to share at the jump of this show, to just say, hey, man, get out and support these artists, buy their merch, buy their records. It's so cool to see vinyl is something that the younger generations want. After years where CDs and everything were dominating, now CDs are basically obsolete, and vinyl's making a huge comeback, which is really cool to see. Like I said, the younger generations picking up the vinyl records. So yeah, man, be cool to each other. Like I always say, keep the faith and be kind to one another, but support these artists, especially if they're playing live. And speaking of supporting artists, live shows, people who have irons in the fire and are cooking in the kitchen, man, this week's episode is a great up-and-coming artist who is a great guitarist in his own right, and he needs to give himself more credit as a vocalist because he's got a great voice too. But this week's guest is none other than Keeper, who is a London-based artist. He's an alternative artist, so if you like alternative music, pop punk, pop, electronic, if you like 808s, this dude has blended all those elements into his solo stuff, and we'll get into it in the conversation. I don't want to give too much away at the jump, but Keeper's an interesting cat. His first name is Emmanuel, so I reference him as Emmanuel a lot during this conversation, but he played guitar in a band called Jack the Envious, and then things just kind of got weird with the pandemic and whatnot, and being in isolation, and as you guys will hear in this conversation, he grew up with music. His dad used to listen to NWA and De La Soul. Music was in his family, but he's a guy who has been playing guitar a long time. He's a great guitarist in his own right, but like I said, he's also a great vocalist. He has a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. There's even humor in the music videos that he puts out. But when the Jack the Envious stuff kind of went away with the pandemic and COVID and all of that was going on, Keeper was like, yo, I wanna keep making music and do my thing here. And over the last couple of years, he's cranked out a lot of singles. Some of my favorites are Frog, Come Around, Blue Eyes, Here We Go. And in Here We Go, it's really cool because there's some hardcore type vocals that are in that song. And again, the music videos are really dope as well. They're all very creative. And you see his sense of humor in numerous music videos too. They're not all like that, but there's a great comedic element to that as well. And he's just having fun. Like I said, he's an alternative artist who's having fun making the music that he wants to make. And again, I really love the way that he's blending the genres. I think alternative is the best way you could describe his music because, like I said, there are elements of pop and pop punk, rock, hardcore, 808s. It's all in there. And at the time that we recorded this interview, you guys are hearing it in mid-July, but we actually recorded it towards the end of May. So at the time, the latest single that he had released on May 18th, my mom's birthday, shout out Mom, I love you, was Come Around, which is a fun music video that they put together for that as well, and we talk about that. And as of this episode coming out, his latest single, which is doing really well out the gate, it came out July 5th, it's called I Don't Even Know Myself, featuring tmdistant. They had a sold-out show together on June 1st, and we talk about that show, which, like I just said, ended up selling out. So it was really cool to catch up with Keeper and just learn more about his story, where he came from as far as his musical tastes, and just pivoting, during the pandemic, like so many people, man. Like I said, if you go back and listen to the Jack the Envious stuff, I mean, he is a heck of a guitar player, and the fact that he was just like, yo, if this is going away, I got to do something. I got to keep making music. I love doing this. Kind of like me with this podcast. You know, I put it down for a little bit, and then I was like, yo, I got to do it. I have this itch that I have to scratch. And to see him pivot and do what he's doing with Keeper over the last couple of years, it's really cool. Come Around, I believe, is the first single off of his forthcoming EP, which is going to be called The Greatest Hits He Lied. And I'm just really excited for what this dude has in store. And it was a great conversation, getting a chance to learn more about him and what he's doing. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Keeper. Here it is. Yeah, the creepy robot lady, man, that lets you know it's officially starting. Well, Manuel, nice. I appreciate the time, man. Like I said, I know I rant a little bit in the beginning of these things, but I like to let people know a little bit about my background. But I'm genuinely excited for you and what you got going in store for 2023, dude. Listening to Come Around and watching the music video and kind of going back through your catalog, man. There's a lot of humor in what you do, but there's also a lot of cool different, genre blending. I feel like you do with like some emo, some 808s in addition to the pop punk theme of what you're doing, man. So thank you so much for taking the time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, hyped.
You're welcome, man. Well, one place I wanted to start with you, dude, is just a place I like to start with a lot of people, even though I was doing my research on you before I got rolling here. But when did the music bug bite you? I read when you were a kid, your dad used to listen to like NWA and De La Soul when you'd be in the car and stuff. But was music household, people in the family musical, or is it something that you just gravitated to?
To be honest with you, it's the whole family, including my dad, but he cannot sing in tune or in time. But he gives it his all. He tries, all that stuff. But the whole family, like, mate, my favorite, completely embarrassing to say. I ain't saying this on any I'm going with it. But like my favorite artist for like the longest time, Britney Spears, mate. Britney Spears.
Yeah,
29-year-old Britney Spears. That was where I was at. To be honest with you, I got a Rage Against the Machine thing there, and that's true. But Britney Spears, that's where it was at originally.
She's still a star, man. She was everywhere. I remember was like Oops, I Did It Again. That was like peak TR, all that stuff. My sister and I used to watch TRL every day coming home from school, man. And it was like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and I'm like a metalhead. So then when Korn,
are you cool? Yeah,
started to like get on the TRL charts, I was like, yeah, they're knocking off the pop stars. But no, man, like, pop music. That's still to this day, that's the one I would say that has the biggest reach. I mean, definitely over here.
It's the hooks. It's Oops, I Did It. That's a hook. And don't get me wrong, metals, you got hooks. You got loads of hooks. I'm going to reference Beartooth, Caleb Shomo. He is writing hooks every day, night and center. But it's like not as common. Like Lorna Shore. I love Lorna Shore. But it doesn't appeal to a mass audience because like the gutter was there, But Britney Spears, the moment if you hear something that's you're gonna hum constantly, you've won. It's GG. It's game over. You've nailed the whole world.
So when did the door open to pop punk? Because Blink was also, they were. I mean, they're still huge, but I remember Enema of the State coming out around that same time that Britney started popping off too, and they were everywhere as well.
To be honest with you. It was Britney Spears for a while. I think when you start getting conscious, like I feel like when you're young, you're not really a person. You're just going through the motions. You're like, yeah, I'll play tag. Yeah, sure. Car, tractor. And you don't really have a person. You have a personality, but it's not there. And then all of a sudden you start going, yeah, my favorite color is green. Yeah, now those other colors, now it's green. When you hit that point was when I started listening to the music my parents were putting on and consciously enjoying it, I think. So Rage Against the Machine, my parents bought me a CD player, 8th birthday, somewhere, probably thrown in the bin, to be honest with you. It was trash. And like they gave me all their old CDs, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine. They bought us Busted because we were singing Busted in the car. Now Busted is where the pop punk thing started happening. They're huge in the UK. I don't think they're existent in the States, are they?
I'm not familiar with them. No.
So Jonas Brothers covered a lot of their songs for the States. So Bustards would write songs, and they were the equivalent of the Jonas Brothers. So early Jonas Brothers stuff, part like 1,000 written by Busted, and then Jonas Brothers did their rendition of it. So if you check out if you're feeling like that retro sort of Jonas Brothers era, recommend Busted. But funnily enough, man, he went on to form Fight Star, a post-hardcore prog band, which is completely, somebody that is basically equivalent of a Jonas Brother going into post-hardcore and prog. It was mad. That's sort of what got me into sort of like stuff heavier, was because it was an idol, a teenage 16-year-old boy band suddenly going into Drop C. I was like, ooh, Drop C. That's sort of what got me there. But it's Busted got me into pop punk. I'm gonna ramble. I'm sorry, mate. It's just brain's just going all over the place.
That's why I love doing these, man. I like long form conversations, man, and I rant all the time. But no, I definitely can see how like the edgy stuff starts to grab you, especially around that age. Like I remember when my parents got divorced, I was 11, and I remember hearing like Creed, My Own Prison the first time, but then Limp Bizkit, Korn.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Music video, and so I have Seven Dust and Waffle. Like I got really into like the rhythmic groove type of stuff. And I kind of progressively went heavier, but to this day, I still listen to a little bit of everything. Like I love Prince. I love
Prince. Yeah.
Like Talking Heads and Sting and the Police and all that stuff too. So I'm
bangers for days. Every single person there, banger.
Yeah. But what about the guitar too, man? Like, I mean, what led you to playing that instrument? Was that also Bastards, or was it just like, because I feel like people gravitate to a particular instrument, and sometimes it's a song that gets them there, sometimes it's a band that gets them there, sometimes it's seeing somebody like Slash and going, I want to do that. Like, when did the guitar come into play?
So I originally started with keyboard or piano. Apparently I had perfect pitch growing up. That's long existent. That's gone. But apparently so I played piano, and then my teacher was like, you know what, I'm going to Australia. Can't blame him now, but at the time I was devastated because that was my only musical outlet. Like, fair play, man's going to Australia, go for it, like, get out. So he went to Australia, and for a time I wasn't doing any music at all, and I was just Busted, for instance. And they just, then I was doing air guitar. I didn't know this other hand had to move. I thought it was all this one. I thought this one was just holding it. So I'm doing air guitar like that. My parents was like, you know what, we'll get you a guitar for your birthday. And they got me a guitar, and I tell you what, I did not practice it at all. I did not practice it at all. Like, mate, I wasn't doing anything. It felt like it was homework, which is weird because most people probably who do music don't say that. They feel, oh yeah, I was drawn to it. Like the moment it grabbed me, nah, man, I wanted to play Lego Star Wars on the PS2. That's how I wanted to spend my time. I was still practicing as well because it kept my parents happy. It kept me happy. And I was enjoying going to this little rock school thing after school. Playing in bands. All the bands were crap. I'm perfectly on it. They were rubbish, innit? But then I saw a Paramore documentary, and time 14, you're sort of understanding you have emotions. Like, these things are things, they're real. And I saw a Paramore documentary, and they weren't treating it as work. Like, they weren't playing guitar like I had to play guitar and do homework. They were traveling with their mates around the world. They're obviously Nashville guys, aren't they? But they were traveling with their mates around the world, playing guitar, and just having fun. And that was the moment. It was like, this doesn't have to be maths. This doesn't have to be English. this can be something fun, something enjoyable. And not only that, these people are earning money. Like, I like money. I want to buy more Pokemon cards. Let's start doing this properly. So that was the moment it sort of clicked, and I was like, yeah, let's buckle down. And I remember for a time I was doing exams, and my mum was like, you gave this up. Like, I'm 15. You gave this up ages ago. Why suddenly you want to play guitar? I was like, you don't understand, mum. And I did. I went ham. I went very quickly. Something that's always annoyed me is that I didn't try earlier. If I tried earlier, I would have been much better than I was now. I'm good. Guitar is my thing. Vocals, if you ever hear me live, you probably don't want to hear me live again. But I wish I just went a little harder, a little earlier. But we're here. We're trying.
Yeah, man. And it's funny because even reading up about you a little bit, and even just what you said now, there's definitely like a self-deprecation there, like self-deprecating humor. If people go to your website, literally like if you Google Keeper, one of the things it says on your website, you refer to yourself as some out of tune neck deep impressions over 808s.
Yes. And it's true. Every single word of that is true.
Like, I got to give you some credit here, man. And I'm not just saying this because you're kind enough to come on the show. Like, I really enjoy your voice a lot. And I really enjoy the guitar and like the songs that I wrote down that I connected with the most from you. And I enjoy your catalog, but the ones that I really enjoyed were Frog, Come Around, Blue Eyes, and Here We Go. And that one, you've got some hardcore kind of vocals going on in that. So yeah, man, I think you got to give yourself some more credit, dude, as far as your vocal range, dude. I think you're doing a great job.
Oh, it's got there. It's got probably at the start it was trash, but I'm pretty happy where I am now. I can do cleans. I got the gutturals down, pig squeals. I started like my main band before COVID happened and everything died and Keeper started. I was in a post-hardcore band playing guitar, and it was my vocalist obviously does his Chester Bennington impressions, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. And so he taught me like beginning stuff, and that sort of helped, because you can watch YouTube videos for days and you ain't learning anything. But the moment you see somebody actually in person, it clicks. And I could only go, something weird like that. And then it's just learning your mouth, your throat has to open wide. And then you try putting it with like words. You do chain after word after word. And then after you got that down, you'll try something else. Like for me, next was gutturals. I got gutturals down. Gutturals are my thing. And then after that, it was like doing the high sort of Nazgul from Lord of the Rings type stuff. And then from there, it was doing pig squeals have been like a thing I've picked up a couple months ago, just trying it for lols, and it's worked. So I'm using it live.
Isn't it funny how people who aren't into heavier music, and this isn't to bash people who aren't into heavier music. We all like what we like. That's what makes the world go around is variety, man. But I don't think people understand how hard it is to do that. Like they hear it and they go, "Oh, that sounds some monster stuff." Or whatever. And I remember
taken years. It's taken a good 3-4 years to be able to. And it's only recently has it got to a place where I'm happy with it. Because before I was dying like 4 minutes in, man. I don't know how these people are doing a song. But now it's got to a point where I can, maybe not a full set, maybe not a full 30 minutes, but I can get like a good 20 down before I feel like maybe I need to stop. Because it's a muscle at the end of the day. And as long as you're not hurting yourself, like it's gonna sting a little bit at the start. It's an unusual thing. The last time you've been able to do that was when you're a baby. Like, how do babies scream constantly and not lose their voice? It's the same sort of thing. So it's just relearning that, using the muscle, improving that, and yeah, it's just getting better.
Yeah, there's a famous YouTuber, Jared Dines. Are you aware of him? Yeah,
Yes, I want this man to turn up one day. When I was working at Tesco's, a supermarket, I was praying every day this man in a cap would turn up and go, give us your best metal scream impression, and I just do like just anything. I was praying.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, it reminded me of that video he did where he's going around to everybody and say, "Hey, can you do the metal scream?" And like very few people can do it. And it's like I always want to show everybody that people who aren't into like hardcore, post-hardcore, any kind of metalcore or anything. It's like it takes a lot of skill, man. And even a guy that I respect a lot and really connect with his lyrics too, because he's very open about anxiety and, depression and things like that, is Jesse Leach from Killswitch. And I know he had to learn to
Oh,
adjust his voice too, because he would just blow his voice
yeah.
days.
Do you do vocals?
Oh, I do not. No, man, I can't. I'm a
That
professional.
that sounds like a man who definitely busts out the mic in karaoke. Like anyone that says I don't do, like, nah, man. Come
I
on, Mr. Brightside comes along on the karaoke. I'm sure a couple beers down, you're doing it.
Oh man, I mean, I know. I think I don't know. I can't really sing, but I could maybe hang in there mid tempo with something like Name from Goo Goo Dolls. Maybe.
We're going. Ooh, I'm liking the music choices today. I'm liking how we're not staying on topic. This is
Hey, that's a great one. And I love the guitar tunings they use. I'm still trying to figure out what they're doing in the beginning of Black Balloon. You know what I'm talking about? Those harmonics.
I do, and I have no. Yeah, I do. That's some of the coolest thing though, is when you still can't work. I got a screwdriver in my hand. Still can't work out what they're doing. That's the beauty of it. Like, who am I thinking of? Who's the guy who cut off his thumb? No, he had his fingers cut off. Judas Priest, the guitarist for Judas Priest, and the man's playing with a thimble, and he's still making sounds that you're like, yeah, how are you making that? What's going on there? It's insane. That's the beauty of it. It's like another thing. Like, I love shoegaze bands. Shoegaze bands, when they're getting some of those swells, some of that like reverby glassiness. What are you using to? It's like you've summoned angels to get some of that stuff. It's insane.
Yeah, I love that stuff too, man. The music, and that's the thing about music, is just you're connecting with those emotions. That's why I've always admired it. I mentioned starting earlier, like, sometimes I look back when I was a kid, and I love sports. To this day, I still love basketball and stuff. I don't really play anymore. I just try to stay in shape now and stave off the dad bod, man. But I think, like, man, sometimes I wish I would have picked up guitar when I was a younger kid, just because I was always attracted to that instrument. But bringing it back to your music, man, you mentioned the pandemic. So was that in your band, Jack? Was that Jack the Envious you were referencing a little bit?
Yeah. So it sounds like basically 2000s post-hardcore screamo. Like especially the vocalist. The vocalist sounds like Kellen Quinn, straight up. He sounds like Kellen Quinn. He's that sort of, and I love Kellen Quinn. I love, so I was down when they sent. I auditioned for this band, and when they said yes, man, I was pumped. COVID killed it though, which is really sad because we were about to drop some like 2000s pop punk, like Newfound Glory type stuff, which is still in the folder. I don't think it's ever going to come out again. But it was still fun. It was still, I cut my teeth in that sort of band. Like, I played in bands before, punk bands, like grunge punk, sort of stuff like that, doing like bad Fugazi impressions with the guitar, but Jack the Envious was when I sort of like played proper gigs. Like, there's a proper audience and there's actually people singing words. So the vocalist, he did Cold Heart with me, which is on the back catalogue I've got. So it came out last year. And then the bass player, he does music videos now. So he's done all the new Holding Absence stuff, if you're familiar with Holding Absence.
I am. Yeah, I really like those guys a lot, man.
Yeah, sick guys. Because they're sort of like, I can't explain it. It's sort of shoegazy. It's got that sort of shoegazy vibe to it, but sort of more alt rocky. You still got those nice spacey chords, lots of diminished sevens and all that jazz. But it's nice. It is good. I'm enjoying it. And the drummer, I haven't spoken to regularly, but he's a good guy. I keep meaning to play like Warzone or something with him, like just like we used to back in the day. But yeah, I had a great time on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry that COVID put a damper on it, man. I feel like that happened with a lot of people, but I guess the positive that came out of it is I think it made everybody around the world hit the reset button too, and I, kind of made everybody go, okay, what's priority wise?
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you, coming out of that you were able to put out your first EP and really start having some fun, you know what I mean, in terms of doing more of this pop punk stuff, because I listened to Guess I'm Keeper front to back, and I really dug it, because that was about 2 years ago now, March of 21.
Yeah, Dominic. Yeah. Jeez, that was actually written in March 2020, but I couldn't release it until January. They couldn't release the first song until January 2021 because I was waiting for a music video from some guy, and this guy took 5 months for a music video. Insane.
What
Took ages.
what was it like there over in the UK with COVID? Was it pretty similar to here, where it was just sort of like everywhere turned into a ghost town? And
Yeah, I think it's identical. So like at the time, so I thought I had COVID. Turns out I had just discovered I had asthma. Like that was a new thing that happened, but I couldn't breathe. There's me thinking I had COVID. So I managed to get like a week to 2 weeks off of work because I couldn't breathe. I was doing and the only thing I thought was COVID. In reality, it turns out I had asthma. So I was home, and I remember seeing it on the news. It's a ghost town, which funny enough, if I wasn't sick off work, I don't think I would have started Keeper because I ended up playing Minecraft with a mate who had just like started a Twitch stream, and he was just like, yeah, anyone want to hop on a Minecraft world with me? I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. I've got nothing better to do at the moment. I'm good. Apart from at the moment, all I'm playing is Subnautica and getting scared by fishes. So I'll play Minecraft with you. And I spoke to a mate there called John Cass. Now, John Cass is a band, is in the band as Everything Unfolds. At the time, Jack the Envious and As Everything Unfolds was like a similar sort of like level, to be honest with you. We played a couple shows together, and I've spoken to John Cass in a long time. So we're chatting, and then we discover we both like emo rap and sort of that sort of stuff, like Little Lotus, all that stuff. And he was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a producer. I was like, oh, cool, you do producing? Well, I'm learning to produce as well. I sent him some early beats I had. He was like, yeah, do you mind sending some guitar stems and I'll turn them into beats? And that's what I did. And then I sent him one and he turned into a beat. And it was Song Sorry, which I think is trash now, to be honest with you. I ain't gonna lie. But he sent Sorry over and I was like, yo, I love this. Let me record vocals for it. And he was like, for real? Oh, yeah. So I went around to his house and rest is history. That's how Keeper started.
well, yeah, and I'm glad you did it, man. Because like I said, I really enjoyed listening to the back catalog and even the music videos that you come up with, man. Like going back to sort of like the having fun and sort of the self-deprecating stuff. I mean, like Soul is kind of like it's almost like a goofy newscaster.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to sort of
and stuff like there's been some fun stuff, man.
It's I think the trouble is some people take them, and it's cringe to say, to be honest with you, because in retrospect it also makes me sound like I take it too seriously, but I don't like it when things get taken too seriously. I get it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time I'm thinking, what's the point? Just have fun with it, enjoy it, make something laugh. So with the music videos, I really try and just have fun, just enjoy it, do something like little, early YouTube skits like Smosh and things like that. So that's what the premise I was going for with my music videos.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it a lot. Like, I mean, but I feel like Foo Fighters has done that a lot over the years.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Dave Grohl is a great example, right, of somebody who, the music, when you listen to the music, you're like, okay, they put the hours in, they put the time in, they're very talented, but in a lot of the visuals and music stuff they do, they have fun, they laugh at themselves, and I think that's it should be,
Yeah, it's and don't get me wrong, I'll do my serious music. Here we go is a serious music video. It's your stereotypical music video, and that's cool. I enjoyed that, but to be honest with you, Come Around is. I think I've got the songs out. It's probably not good to say. I think I've got better songs coming out, but I think that's definitely the best music video. Like that makes me laugh every time. My brother's the first like punch that gets thrown in that music video.
Yeah,
was one of my mate Ewan, the big dude. He went to punch my brother. He went to punch Amir, sorry, the other guy. And he obviously misses and punches my brother. That is the first punch that's happened, yeah? So no punch has been thrown. And my brother just goes flying. He goes on like Mark 9. And you can tell, because if you look at Ewan's face, he's utter shocked of what's happened. When that punch gets thrown and my brother hits the floor like a double-decker bus, we all think he's hurt himself. We literally pause and go, Orlando, are you okay? Like the camera's gone down, everyone's looking at Orlando. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's acting. From that point on, the doors of hell opened, and it turns into trapeze artists. Like these dudes are going flying from that point on, and it just makes it so funny.
Yeah, man. Like watching the music video, because your brother plays the referee, then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I saw that, I was like, I almost paused it and rewound it because I was like, it looked like that dude really took it right on the chin.
He did, yeah.
I was like,
oh dear, because he can't throw a punch. When he goes to throw the punch at the end, the man can't throw a punch to save his life, and it's just so funny because he took it so well. He takes the punches so well.
yeah, and the meaning behind that song, right? Is a friend of yours was in for lack of a better way to say it, a crappy relationship where there was a lot of push and pull with somebody, and then eventually they got out and saw the light, right? Like that's kind of, so the music video is almost like a metaphor of like you get knocked down, but then you get back up.
Yes. Yeah, well done. Good job. Yeah. That's exactly right. We just tried to put on a more positive spin to it. Because I feel like the song obviously is quite your standard typical pop punk. Well, not your standard typical. It's got hyperpop elements, but it's, you know, your pop punk instrumental. It's in major key. It's fast. It's go lucky, but obviously the lyrics maybe also standard pop punk. Just like, this relationship, anger. So it's just the two separate emotions, and the music video, I just wanted to have fun with it, do something still that conveyed that same meaning, but just would make me laugh.
Yeah, dude, it's fun, and I can't take too much credit and sit here like I'm super smart or anything, because I did read about, you know, the meaning behind it and everything in addition to listening to it. So I'm outing myself a little bit. You know, now you're like, oh man, Mike, I thought you're smarter than what I did a few minutes ago. But
now it's calm. You can edit that out. It's fine. Don't worry.
But no, I really enjoyed the music video, and again, it still kind of had the theme of just having fun, and you've had more serious music videos too, like Change is definitely a more serious music video. Blue Eyes too, same thing. Wars kind of going on in there, because at the end the guy realizes the thing he's running from is himself, essentially, right? So
oh yeah, that's proper artsy. I don't know. So I forgot about that. Yeah.
And that was that was like the second, I think that was the second music video you did, right? Or the second single?
Yes. Here we go. Personal scoop here. It wasn't intentionally meant to be the second one. It was Homegrown was always going to be the first one, and the second one was going to be Sulk. And I've got a music video done for Sulk. We filmed that early, and then but then we got feedback, and it said, "Nah, Blue Eyes is definitely the single." But I'm so sad because I love Sulk more. I love Sulk more. Sulk was my favorite, but it's all good. It has turned out for the best.
So you mentioned, you know, going from Jack the Envious and making some noise with those guys, COVID putting the halt on all of that. But then when Guess I'm Keeper came out, you really did start to make some noise, man. Like I saw that you were getting love from the likes of All Press and New Noise Magazine, among others. I mean, what did it feel like, I guess, out of sort of like the bummer of like, oh man, like we were building some steam, you know, and now all of a sudden I got to kind of start over. I mean, that had to feel pretty good to like put some stuff out into the world and realize like, oh, like I can do this too. I can explore this aspect of myself musically too.
Yeah. It is rewarding. It's Jack the Envious, to be perfectly honest, was dying before COVID happened, and COVID was the final bullet, you know. So I was trying to find ways to express myself for a couple years music wise. And to be honest with you, I wanted to be in a band. Like I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to do something like Knuckle Puck, where the guitarist is playing guitar, but he's also singing sometimes. And it's so difficult finding people to be in a band. I got to the point where I was like, I can't be bothered. I'll just do it myself. And so finally it's starting to do well. It's it's proper rewarding because you put in so much effort into this. I'm sure it's identical with your podcast. It's like the slightest bit of recognition for all the hours of hard work and sweat and money that you put into this, and then finally you get something back. It's like you don't want the world back. You're not expecting like a Ferrari to turn up in your front door, but just something just to make up for it, you know, just a little bit of recognition, just a little bit of positiveness. That just helps you keep going, because I feel like it's proper easy to lose yourself, like, and just not put in as much effort as you did, because you're not getting the response you'd like back. And sure, the music, putting out music, you're not looking for a response. At the end of the day, you're looking for a musical outlet, but it's still nice to have, you know, it's still something enjoyable to have, no matter if it's music or any other type of form of art, a podcast. Just having like that little bit just back is nice.
For sure, man. Yeah, we all need and want, I think, to some degree, a little bit of a pat in the back every now and again. And like,
Yeah.
um, like you said, music is an outlet, and for me, podcasting is definitely an outlet. Like, it's funny, man. Like when I look at my life, not to get like super personal here, but like some of the most difficult times that I've been through on a personal level. At the same time that I was going through those difficult things on a personal level, things were going pretty well professionally. Like I remember back in 2011, like when I was talking to you before the jump, I started out doing music feature stories and stuff, and I had 2 cover stories within like a month of each other, and then I also went through a breakup at that time. And towards the end of 2011, I lost my grandfather, and I was really close with him. I keep a picture of him with all these podcasts that I do. I still wear his necklace every day. And then fast forward to 10 years later, it's 2021. I'm a year into doing this podcast, get blindsided by a really horrible breakup. And then, you know, had people around me in my life passing away, you know, a coworker and one of my best friend's dads passed away. I lost a grandma. One of my mentors in broadcasting, like, lost his daughter. Like, it was just some wild stuff. And I say all that to say, like, the podcast has definitely been sort of like I'm trying to think of the right word to use.
Is clutch a right word? Not clutch.
Yeah.
A backbone.
Yeah, exactly. It's been sort of like a centerpiece to kind of anchor to, you know, and it's an outlet for me, but really it's great to connect with other people like yourself, you know, people who also go through struggles maybe in a different way. And then you share those conversations with the listeners. And for me, like when I get feedback from people and they're like, oh, you know, whether they say they dug the episode or even the guests that come on, like, hey, thank you for, you know, like giving a crap. And like, you know, you actually listen to our music. And I'm like, well, of course, I'm not going to waste your time. I don't want the interview to be like every other cookie cutter interview. No disrespect to anybody else out there. But I mean, I really, you know, want people to know that I care, you know what I mean? So I think
yeah, it's clear you've put in the work. That's admirable, honestly. Like, to go back and to listen to my past catalog, man, I don't even do that. So like the fact you've done it is so cool.
Well, no, I appreciate it, man. And like I said, I love music, and it really is something that translates. I mean, right? I mean, we're in different parts of the world right now, and we get to do cool stuff like this through modern tech. This is something that, you know, back in maybe like 95, if Keeper was popping off, I would have probably had to, you know, write whatever publication you were in and see who did the story and see how I could get in touch with you. And then that would have been a whole other thing, you know what I mean? Because I don't even know how I'd make an international phone call, you know? It's 2023. No, don't know if I know how to do that. So it's cool that there's things like this that can bring people together. It's weird. That's sort of the dichotomy of social media, right? Is it can be
double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like doom scrolling, but then you meet cool people like yourself doing cool things, man. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, for real. It's because, I mean, most of music promo now is less about gigs and more about uploading a trendy TikTok. Like, so it is entirely all online, which for better or for worse, like, you don't have I feel like you don't have the restrictedness that a label might offer in those early days. You know, you're more free. If you're solo, you have the opportunity to go big. Whether or not I pull my finger out my ass and start loading TikToks more is another thing, but there is that there, it can be self-done.
Yeah. Thing like TikTok or like Instagram Reels and stuff like that. And that's the thing, man, right? You never know what is going to pop or what's going to hit. I've always felt like at the end of the day, if you make the stuff that's most authentic to you, whether you're a musician or an artist of any kind, or whether you're a podcaster, I do feel like people will latch on to authenticity. You might have a song that maybe does 50,000 streams instead of 500,000. But at the end of the day, sometimes what I worry about with where music is headed, and it's actually something I wanted to get your perspective.
A commodity rather than
Like
genuine.
Or like the artificial intelligence end of things, or like feeding the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this song got picked up on all these playlists, so do I need to make another 2-minute 45-second song that, like you said, is in major key and has this big sing-songy chorus? Like, I was just listening to the artist. I don't know if you're familiar with him. His name's Jelly Roll.
No, not personally.
He's been blowing up here in the States, and has some like hip hop influence and country and rock and stuff. And he had a big song that went huge on country radio over here. And he was just on Joe Rogan's podcast. He was talking about how he wrote all these songs and he didn't really like any of them. And then he just like riding in the car with his daughter or something, talking about his days growing up, going to church and things like that. And he was like, I think I'd rather write music like that, because he was trying to chase like that hit, and then he was happy when I was trying to chase that hit, so as somebody who's in even a genre like pop punk, I mean, do you find yourself trying to strike that balance of like, okay, I want to make something that's important to me, but I also want to make something that's going to connect with people? Is that something you're still finding your way doing, or is it something at the end of the day, Emmanuel, where you're just always going to write music that means something to you and forget the algorithms and playlists and TikTok nature of things?
I think it's definitely the second. I would say it's unintentionally though. I don't write a song in terms of with an idea of how I want to write a song. I'll start writing a song and then it just gradually turns up how it turns up. Saying that, I think it's a reason why I think I haven't found my particular sound yet. I'm sure, as you heard from the the catalog, all the songs are different. I think there is some like common themes, common musicality between them, but they're very different. And I think it's been a bit of a progress trying to find what makes keeper, because at the moment I will, until recently, I want to say I have been writing songs from the premise of I want to write a popcore one, I want to write a pop one, like I've got a crabcore one, like proper attack, just in the drafts, just because I could that day. I wanted to write one, and it's whether or not it gets released is another thing. I think it's been a progress trying to find that sound. And maybe when I have that sound down, like I know how I fully sound, maybe then I'll look at going at more, okay, what theme do I want to write about? What is relatable to me? At the moment, it feels like when I'm doing instrumentals, it's what am I enjoying? I think, which I guess is still answering your question. I guess is still the second option. It is what I am enjoying. Saying that though, the difficulty is with that premise is that it's so hard to do music and it's so hard to do any creative outlet. So it seems like sometimes you have to bite that financial bullet. Like otherwise you're just going to spend the rest of your life in the office or in a supermarket. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't want that to happen, maybe sometimes you have to bite the TikTok bullet, where you're just writing commercial songs to pay for your mum's kitchen or something,
Yeah, and I feel like I've heard that sometimes, even when it comes time when I've listened to interviews where it's like people who make movies talking about that, like I'll make the big one that's gonna capture audiences so I can do like the fun indie,
Ah, yeah, exactly. Bang on.
kind
Bang
of
on. Yeah.
one for me, one for them kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Robert Pattinson seems to do that. I've noticed he loves his indie movies. The Lighthouse and everything like that. He loves his indie movies, and it seems like he only does the major ones just so he can pay rent, and then the rest of the time he'll do his indie.
Yeah, and maybe that's a balance, Emmanuel, that's been going on for a long time, within the music industry and the film industry and any kind of art, where it comes to a point where it does become commercial, and we've seen all kinds of artists that have struggled with that, right? You see musicians get everything and all of a sudden they lose it all, or you have people who are really introverted, or at least, I mean, obviously I don't know these people, but I think of like a guy like Eddie Vedder, or rest in peace Heath Ledger. It seemed like the stuff that came out about Heath, he loved acting and he loved the art form of that, but when it came time for the red carpets and the light
Yeah.
stuff, he hated it. And so yeah, I think it's just that
Double-edged sword. Yeah. Dichotomy of it all.
yeah, it's like
Bang on.
there's commercialization aspect of things, of finding the balance in that. But then you have artists like we were talking about earlier, like Foo Fighters, Blink 182. I mean, Rage Against the Machine went away for a while, but that music is still so powerful that they're able to come back whenever they want.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is a balance to be found there. But I think for you, it sounds like it's cool though, man, that I think that's a cool attitude to have. Like, hey, man, I want to write a crabcore song. Maybe it won't see the light of day, but that's what I'm feeling today.
Yeah, I know. And I
First,
laugh. I listen to it back and I laugh. I'm like, ha ha.
but at the end of the day, right? If you don't like what you're doing, then it probably won't land with other people. So the fact
Yeah.
that you're enjoying it, I think, is the most important thing.
I hate the music business side of it. Like, my favorite bit is writing a song, and then I love the performing the song. I hate doing the whole, yeah, please pre-save this. Please come to this show. Please, oh, mate, I'm sick or tired of just like, because it's just a lot of begging, isn't it? You're begging your mates to do it. You're begging people that follow you on Instagram. And I hate it. It feels like so disingenuine. Ideally, I could just make music and get paid, and I wouldn't have to do any sort of promo or anything like that. But it's that sort of bullet you got to buy to be able to release anything.
Yeah, man. A lot of the artists that I talk to, that's something that I talk to them about too. How you really have to market yourself. I mean, even doing this as a podcaster, I always feel like, and maybe that's sort of the doom scrolly part of social media. Like, you always feel like there's always failure in comparison, or you feel like you should be doing more. Like, I'm not on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, what am I going to say? Like, hey, go listen to this episode and like do some.
I know.
I don't know I don't know what to do.
There's only so many times you can say that, to invite a mate to check out a podcast or invite a mate to a gig, before the mate's like, yeah, I got better things to do today. Sorry, dude. And I can't blame them even if they did say that. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you and I relate to that a little bit. Like, I enjoy connecting with people, but I also don't like to like bother people. I hope that like, I hope that at the end of the day, and again, like, I mean, I'm not famous or anything like that. I'm not doing this to be famous. I like talking to people. I mean, don't get me wrong. If anybody from Spotify listens to this and they want to give me an exclusivity deal, hit me up. But it's, I wouldn't say that I promote my stuff begrudgingly, because I don't do it necessarily begrudgingly, but it's one of those things where it's like, I guess the idealist in me hopes that people connect with it, and then by like word of mouth, it'll be like, oh, I talked to that dude and he does, yeah, man, he's a good interview. Like, he's fun to talk to. You should do his show. And then it kind of grows like in a grassroots kind of way. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I know I still got to promote myself in the interim, because I'm not a comedian or a movie star like a lot of these podcasts out here. So I have to do the promotion part of it,
I mean, if you're ever looking for people, I can send you like a list of other people to interview. I don't know if that's like a thing you'd want. If it's not, it's calm, don't worry. But like, maybe not necessarily the pop punk genre, but like, I can send you like groups of artists for like complete loads of other stuff.
Oh yeah, man, that would be awesome. I've done a little, and again, this is, I hope this doesn't come on. The last thing I do is boast about myself, but I really try to have a little bit of everything. I've had some country people on here. I've had rap, I've had metal, different aspects of metal and pop, pop punk. And so I really like to mix it up and give people a little bit of everything. And I've even had people outside of music on here, like the episode that's coming out. Well, as people are hearing this conversation, it'll be July, but my former colleague and friend Mick Gonzalez, who helped me get my start in broadcasting and was still does play by play for different sports and stuff, and is battling some health issues, and like I like having those conversations and talking about how people push through things, you know what I mean? So yeah, I like again, I'm kind of an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit awkward, but I enjoy these kind of conversations, man. So yeah.
Yeah, because
sorry, go ahead, man.
So I know some dudes like Send Flowers. He's a hyper pop artist. He's doing really well at the moment. Like all the Spotify playlists, he'd probably be down to talk. Have you thought about like videographers as well, things like that?
Yeah, all aspects of art or people who are doing anything like related to like chasing their dreams or trying to connect with people, leave their mark in a good way on whatever legacy they're trying to leave behind. That's what I really connect with, because I relate to that. A lot of my life has been like trying to push through fear, you know what I mean, and kind of like make shake hands with your demons and go, okay, I'm not gonna let you win today, you know what I mean, like So that's why music has always been such a powerful force for me, even though I'm not a musician. It's just it's such an emotional, cathartic thing for me. It's not a commodity to me. Like I really love it. So when I listen to artists and I listen to their music, I really connect with that aspect of it. Like I mentioned, like to you, like songs like Frog, Come Around, Here We Go. I'm like, Emmanuel's really saying something, man. I hope people listen to this, and I want them to listen to it, and hopefully they listen to the podcast. You know what I mean? When I talk to him, because I feel like this dude's got something to say. So, it's cool to be able to connect with people in a positive way, man.
Yeah, definitely. As I've definitely got things to say, whether or not they're anything worthwhile. Yeah. Well, yeah, I can go on and on about anything. Point me out a topic, and I'll start talking about it. To be honest with you.
Well, before we wrap it up, man, and thank you again so much, Emmanuel, for taking the time to do this. It's been a lot of fun talking to you. I hope I haven't ranted too much on here,
No,
man.
not at all, sir. Not at all.
But I know
Right.
"Come Around" is like the first single off of your next EP, right? Which is going to be called "The Greatest Hits He Lied." So
Yes.
can you talk to me and the people a little bit about just sort of the themes that they're going to be upcoming on this one?
So the name, I wanted to think of something funny, and that was the only thing that could come to mind, to be honest with you. So we're going with that. In terms of the songs, I'm still playing with the songs. I recently found what I think is a better example of my sound. It's taken a little while to get there, but we are getting there slowly. So I'm playing some. So there's two songs there which I just for lols. I got one about being a vampire. It's straight out of My Chemical Romance. It's not really Keeper. I might put that to the side and do that separately, to be honest with you. But most of it is a collaborative project. Sort of, I got a lot of features. I got features from artists like Sinzi, which is trap metal. He's doing extremely well at the moment. Like getting on Spotify playlists galore. I don't know if you're familiar with the band Crash Face.
I am not, but I'm
So
curious.
they're sort of like Wargasm. Do you know Wargasm?
No, now I feel like a noob. I don't know Wargasm.
So if you love Limp Bizkit and new metal, you are gonna love Wargasm and Crash Face, because it seems like new metal's coming back in a big way. You can see it with some of these artists like Willow Smith doing what almost sounds like a Deftones song. New metal seems like it's on the rise. But then I got some. So recently, like Bring Me released a metalcore type hyperpop song called Lost, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool!" But at the same time, I'm like, "Oh no," because I had one already done, ready for release, and it's like, "Shit, they got there first." But hopefully that will come out with Crash Face and just some pop ones. To be honest, there's gonna playing around with the ideas, the songs, but there's 4 of them are definitively going to be on there.
That's awesome, dude. I genuinely can't wait to hear it. And even though this by the time people will be listening to this, it'll be July. Um, I know you have a sold out show, so
Yes.
we're gonna put it out in the universe that by the time this comes out, that will have been an awesome show and a great
Oh,
kind of
fingers crossed.
uh.
Yeah.
But June 1st, yeah. Can you talk about some of the artists on that bill and
So there's only two. There's only me and the other guy, tmdistant. Now, tmdistant he's doing mad things at the moment. The BBC are loving him, like they love him currently, and so does Spotify. Like he's on I think 14 playlists at the moment. He's going up, like he's going up. And so I know through John Cass, who's my producer mate. He knows TM's manager, and I was like, yeah, I saw TM live, and I was like, I want to get him on a track. And so Cass messaged TM's manager. TM's manager was like, yeah, definitely, let's get this one on track. On top of that, do you want to open for him in the 1st of June? I'm like, yeah, obviously. Yo, two wins, let's go. So we are going to be playing not only the whole rest of the set, but we're going to play our new track together on the 1st of June, which should be coming out 23rd of July, I want to say. So that'll be when that new track comes out. But I'm proper hyped for it, to be honest with you. We've been going ham preparing.
Yeah, man. Like I saw some of you posted a rehearsal video, and I've been seeing the post about it, and I think that's really cool that you sold it out, man. So that's what I'm saying. I know there's some self-deprecating humor in there, and I relate to that too, man, because I take this stuff seriously, but I try not to take myself too seriously. But again, I think that's a positive sign from the universe, man, that people care about what you're doing. The fact that
I know
that's really cool.
Know. Not just me mum, so it's a plus.
Well, and one of the things I'll get you out of here on, Emmanuel. Thanks again, dude. This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate your patience with the audio issues. I know we're not looking at each other right now, but sometimes it's good for the bandwidth instead of things breaking up. But with the theme of the show being perseverance and moving forward, man, like I mentioned some of the stuff that I went through, and you were talking about what you went through with the pandemic and just trying to figure things out and trying to build momentum again as a musician and inevitably being able to do that with Keeper. Like, is there any advice, man, that you would have for anybody out there, whether they're up, whether they're down, whether they're just kind of fair to middling right now, as far as, things that have helped you push through difficult times and persevere, overcome?
So a lot of the main struggles Keeper has as a project is money. Like, obviously, just like having to. So my dad lost his job pretty much at the start of Keeper, and so it took him ages to get a job because everyone was trying to find a job during COVID. So for a while, it was just me and my mum's paycheck, like paying for everything. So Keeper has like had an issue with trying to find funding for like PR, playlisting and shit and stuff like that. And it's still like my dad's got a job now, and I'm definitely not putting in as much as I was to keep everything afloat for like siblings and mum. But it's still somewhat an issue. But you just sort of got to sort of grin and bear it, I guess. It's like knowing where you want to go and doing everything you can in your power to be able to get there. I think maybe it's self-belief, maybe it's overconfidence or egotistical, but I think determination, just having to just YOLO it, I think is the perfect example. YOLO it. Don't spend money on your car even though it's broken down. Spend money on music. Like, you just don't, it's perseverance. I think using your friends, using your family to get support, even if they're buying you drinks, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask your mate, mate, would you mind getting me around just because I can't. It's okay to do that. It's okay to rely on somebody else. And I think it's important to talk about money as well, because there's such a stigma around not telling somebody how much you pay, not telling, and then it's difficult to know where you should be, if not only in terms of where your coworker, for instance, paid 3K more than you're doing the same job. You should talk about money to each other. That way, you know how much you should be getting. But also, we're all struggling with it as well, and we're so kept hush hush when we could be helping each other a little bit more, buying each other around, paying for somebody's petrol, or or asking for help to buy groceries, stuff like that.
For sure, man. I think that's sage advice, man. And one of the themes in there too, man, is like you said, just I think you just got to keep doing the stuff that you love, man. I'm sorry to hear that your dad lost his job, but I think again, I think it's cool that you've got that in mind of asking for help and telling people to ask for help, because I think that's so important. Because I think that came out of COVID too, man. Like I dealt with it too. Like I enjoy my alone time, but there's a difference between being like forced to be alone and then like choosing to be like, I'm not going to go out. You know what I mean? And I think for a lot of people struggling out there, sometimes they feel like they don't want to be a burden, but they don't realize like isolate yourself, how much you just kind of amplify your problem. So I think that's advice to tell people, hey, help out your friends and don't be afraid to ask your friends for help. That's really important, man.
100%. Yeah. Bang on.
Well, Emmanuel, this has been so much fun, dude. For everybody listening, Come Around is out now wherever you get your music. Go watch the music video. It's a lot of fun. And stay tuned for the forthcoming EP, The Greatest Hits He Lied. Emmanuel, I really appreciate the time, man. For people who aren't aware, I'll obviously put up the links in the podcast description for everybody listening, but let them know where they can find you, dude.
So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. You can definitely find me on TikTok. That is something my mum has told me off about. So you can definitely find me on TikTok. I'm going to be posting so much more on that. YouTube as well. Basically anything, Club Penguin, like anything you can possibly find on the internet, I've probably got an account. For better or for worse.
You're welcome back anytime, man. I really enjoyed our conversation. And like I said, I'm not just blowing smoke, dude. I really like what you're doing. I'm a headbanger and I love heavy music, but I love pop punk. I love hip hop. I love emo stuff. And I think it's cool that you explore different avenues in your music and that you have fun doing it. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day, man. And you are connecting it with people. When you look at some of the views, on the music videos and some of the streams and stuff, I think for somebody who, was trying to, change course during the pandemic, you're doing a great job, dude. So just keep making the music you love to make. And, you have a home here. You're welcome back on the podcast anytime, dude.
Thank you, sir. Cheers. Looking forward to it. Yeah, definitely. And you too. It's great that you're doing podcasts, is talking with music, talking with just people about just feelings. It's not feelings. I think that's a bad use of the word, but real life emotions and experience. That's cool as hell.
I appreciate the kind words, man. Well, I hope the show goes great. It's sold out already, so it's already in the stars that it's going to be awesome. And once again, for everybody, stay tuned to Keeper. Appreciate the time, man.
Cheers. Thank you. Awesome.
Alrighty dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with London, UK-based alternative artist Keeper. Make sure you go follow him on Instagram at Guess I'm Keeper. The links to all of his stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of that podcast description, hit those links, and go follow and support my dude Keeper. You will not be disappointed if you are a fan of alternative music, if you love pop punk, if you love pop, if you love a little bit of hardcore sprinkled on that. Keeper throws it all in the blender and has his own unique sound, and it's great to hear. Once again, like I said at the jump, I love Frog, I love Come Around, I love Blue Eyes, I love Here We Go, I love the latest one, I Don't Even Know Myself, featuring tmdistant. Go check out all of it. You can find his music wherever you get your music. But once again, you can follow him directly on Instagram at Guess I'm Keeper. And the links are in the podcast description for this episode. So I just want to say thank you once again to Keeper. Emmanuel, dude, it was great having you on the podcast. I really appreciate you giving me more than an hour of your time, especially with the time difference being across the pond, as it were, over in the UK. I'm really excited for you, dude, and I hope the listeners enjoyed our conversation, just hearing about how you pivoted after Jack the Envious and everything with COVID and the shutdowns, and you're making the music that you love to make, you're having fun doing it. It's definitely coming across in the music videos, the creativity, the sense of humor. And I think that's an important message to take away from this for everybody listening to, not to be preachy, but just, take your work seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Keeper is a great guitar player, and even though he makes fun of himself a little bit, he really is a great vocalist too, man. And you can hear the diversity in his voice and in the range in his sound if you go back and listen to his back catalog that he's put out over the past couple of years that he's been doing this with Keeper, man. So really, really thankful that he came on the show, and he's got some great stuff in store. I can't wait to hear the forthcoming EP, The Greatest Hits, He Lied, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, thank you to everybody who checked it out. And once again, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome aboard that pirate ship. Once again, you can follow me on Instagram at March4thPod, on YouTube at March4thPod. My website is march4th.podbean.com. The links to all of my stuff are in the podcast description as well. So holler at me on Instagram, send me a DM, give me a shout. And if you love the episode, please take the time to tell your friends. Like, share, and subscribe, all that stuff. It goes a long way in helping get out this music to more people, and ultimately that's what I want, man, is more people to find out about Keeper. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's episode. I had a longer intro because I was getting a little sentimental on y'all because I really did have a great trip home despite my grandma being in the hospital. Outside of that, it was really great to see my buds and Tropic Bombs do their thing. To see other bands on that bill like Circadian and the Ice Cream Militia, and just to see people coming together, checking out live music at a sold-out show at a really cool historical venue in Frankie's Inner City in Toledo, Ohio. I mean, there's been so many bands that have played there over the years, from P.O.D., Limp Bizkit, the Goo Goo Dolls. Pretty sure Smashing Pumpkins played there back in the day, like the White Stripes, I think, played there before anybody really knew who they were, because they're from Detroit originally, and that's only about an hour north of where I grew up in Toledo. So to tie that into this week's episode, man, with Keeper having a sold-out show on June 1st with tmdistant, and then for those guys to drop the latest single together, I Don't Even Know Myself, on July 5th, not long before this episode is hitting y'all's ears, and it's already doing great out the gate. I think by the time this comes out, it's probably going to have 10,000 streams on Spotify alone, and the music video is a fun watch. But, it's just cool to see people doing their thing, to see sold-out shows with up-and-coming artists, or, bands like my buds and Tropic Bombs, who have been a local staple in Toledo for well over a decade, just as Tropic Bombs, and even longer than that with the other bands that they've been in, man. It's cool to see people supporting live music. So I can't emphasize that enough, you guys. Go support these artists, buy their merch, go to the shows, and, experience that community, man. I've been kind of a hermit myself these past couple of years between COVID and just some of the things I've been through in my life. And last weekend was a great reminder of how many people that I have in my life that are loving, supportive, great friends. And to see the community come together and check out an awesome show, it's just great to know that that's happening overseas too, with an artist like Keeper doing a sold-out show in London. That is so dope, man. So, yeah, I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, at Guess I'm Keeper on Instagram. Stay tuned for his forthcoming EP, The Greatest Hits, He Lied. Keep the faith and be kind to one another. I'm going to close this one up by giving you guys the latest single from Keeper featuring tmdistant. This one is called I Don't Even Know Myself. Peace.
Talk to me, curious and tired. Sitting up alone again is all I want. Feeling shots to down, but I don't let it go. But it's what you want it, always doing something. I've been losing real sleep, and it's up to nothing. Hope you had your fun, oh, you hear my guts. I couldn't get before I could get some talking. Right now, I don't know myself. spend a mission. You feeling in the mirror, but I'm all defensive. So where do we go from here? Loving and